in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled by a demon.
So, Tucker Carlson has a really wild story that's worth thinking about, and we will. Now, an outfit called the Holy Wisdom Films is producing a documentary called Christianities. It's designed to explore Christian expressions from around the world and with people from all walks and different experiences. And they hit the jackpot with this one. Check it out.
Do you think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good?
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh yeah, I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism or just?
Nope, in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something unseen that left
Is that right?
claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks.
Oh, they're still there. Yeah. A year and a half ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and I couldn't breathe, and I thought I was gonna suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in, and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and I was just in my boxer shorts, and I went and flipped on the light in the bathroom, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms and on my left shoulder, and they're bleeding.
Wait, they were bleeding?
They're bleeding, yeah. No, they're actual claw marks. And I sleep on my side, so I wasn't clawing myself. I don't have long nails. And they didn't fit my hands anyway. But yeah, that happened. So I'm not from a world where things like that happen. I never heard of anything like that happening before. I had no idea what that was. I knew it was spiritual immediately.
You did? Okay, that was gonna be my question.
Yeah. I don't understand to this day. I'm not gonna put it.
You didn't try to refute the spiritual part in your own mind. You went right into the.
Well, it didn't make any sense, and it doesn't now. But I'm not from a, what do they call it, faith tradition that talks about things like that or even acknowledges their existence. Like, there's nothing like that. I've never heard anybody say anything like that in my whole life.
What was the next day like?
Well, the next morning I woke up and I thought, that was the weirdest dream I've ever had. And then I saw blood on my sheets, and I realized that was not a dream at all.
I appreciated him going to the fact that it could have been a dream, that little balance between sometimes you incorporate things in your dream that are actually happening in the room and all that. I appreciate that he at least had that thought.
I called my assistant, who was like the only evangelical Christian I know, well enough to call with something bizarre like that, totally bizarre like that. And she said, oh yeah, no, that happens. Yeah, people are attacked in their bed by demons. What?
Okay, so if someone called you with a story like that, if you're an evangelical Christian, would you say, yeah, that happens at the thing? I admit, I have a little bit of a story a little bit later, but I admit that wouldn't be my first thing I would say, because I haven't heard of a lot of people coming to me and saying that.
What are you even talking about? Yeah. So, I'm not leaving anything out, and I'm not pretending to understand that. I can only say what happened to me, and that did happen to me, and then I was seized with this very intense desire to read the Bible, which I then started without any study aids or anything. I bought a Bible that didn't have any. I'm not interested in editorializing in the Bible. I just want to read it and see what's in there myself. I have very low levels of trust for Christian pastors, most of whom, I'm just not a fan at all. And
no offense taken, by the way, in case he was wondering.
And sorry to say that, but that's how I feel. And so I don't want to hear other people's opinions. I just want to see what's in there. And so I spent a year and a half reading it, and then I started rereading it. And it was just a transformative experience for me, but I'm not, holding myself out as someone from whom you could get theological advice, because I'm
sure,
not.
Of course.
I don't know. I don't understand any of it, but yeah, that happened.
God allowed the demon?
I have no idea what happened. All I know is I was dead asleep with my wife and dogs, and I woke up with claw marks on my rib cage underneath my arms, and it didn't even make sense. My arms would, anyway, whatever. No one has to believe me, I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
But that happened to me, and so I just was like, wow, that's real. Whatever that is, I'm not sure what it is.
It's
but
very real. And so then that presence of that evil
yeah.
launches something.
Well, what do you do with something like that? Well, I think obviously the Bible does give some fantastic guidance when it comes to all this kind of stuff. There's a passage in 1 Thessalonians I think captures, it's talking about prophecies, but I think it could be applied to all things that claim to be supernatural. It says this in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, do not despise prophetic utterances, but examine everything carefully. Hold on to that which is good. Abstain from every form of evil. So there's some great guidance there. So first of all, it says don't despise these things. We need to acknowledge that Jesus' own worldview included the demonic. It included the supernatural. He viewed the world that way, and it's worth noting that Jesus was a preacher. He was a healer, but he was also an exorcist. That's how he was known to his contemporaries. You can read about him actually driving demons out of people, and it's easy to forget that kind of stuff, and you'll hear about those things around the world as well. But Jesus' worldview included those kinds of ideas. So this whole possibility is not just off the table altogether. So don't despise it. But on the other hand, it says examine everything carefully. Never forfeit your call to or your permission to examine things. Being gullible is not a spiritual virtue, okay? You're not expected every time someone comes up with something that sounds supernatural just to accept it right out of the gate because you're a Christian or anything like that. And that's important here. It's okay to look at this and listen to it. For the truth of it, he sounds very truthful because he says, I don't care if anybody, and he repeats it. He says he doesn't know what it means. He doesn't, I like the fact that it's really not been said. He could go like on a whole tour where he just, the night I was mauled by a demon and make it almost his branding. And he really doesn't, it sounds like they almost kind of walked into this story, which is interesting all by itself. He repeats the story the same way. And I found it very intriguing that he had this overwhelming desire to read the Bible. I mean, not an overwhelming desire to study demons or to call somebody that, was an exorcist or something like that. It was just to read the Bible, which is interesting all by itself. On the flip side, there are a few things like, now, wait a minute, couldn't it be explained any other way? When I've had people come to me and ask me about supernatural things or like fearing their house was haunted or something like this, my first question is always, could it be explained in any other way? I don't want to dismiss it because I do believe that exists. But on the other hand, make sure that you're not reading into things because a lot of things can happen when you're dreaming. Dreamings can be very realistic. I said I had a little story myself. There was a night I can remember very clearly where I felt oppressed by a demonic presence, and I woke up and I thought I saw something run across my room that I identified as a demon. Yes, that really did happen. But that weird line between sleeping and being awake and all that, no, it freaked me out enough. I find it kind of interesting. He said he wasn't terrified. I'm like, I was definitely terrified, and I prayed a whole lot too. But on the other hand, it's okay to kind of question these things. He was in bed with his dogs. Maybe that is where his scratches came from, because in the Bible, we're not told that demons do this kind of thing. We're told that people will do this to themselves if they have the demonic inside of them. There's a kid that throws himself in the fire. There's a person that kind of scratches himself with rocks and stuff like that. And we're not told that demons do this kind of thing. On the other hand, it doesn't mean they don't. It just means we're not told they do that. So checking it out with Scripture, it's okay to kind of back off and just keep my right to be skeptical. But finally, it says, hold on to the good. And the good about this is that it drove him to read the Bible. It drove him to take a deeper walk, and it went into a year and a half. So that is good fruit coming out of it. So that kind of says something was going on that maybe is a little beyond our understanding. So I guess the moral of the story is don't wait till you're attacked by a demon in your bed to read the Bible. You can read that right now. And if you need help with that, this is a great place to start we've offered for you. Hope that helps. See you next time.